Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily for Tuesday, September 2nd. I hope you had a wonderful long weekend. I know we had a long break here at DSR Network, so we are feeling refreshed and recharged and ready to bring you the news that matters most. And here to help me with that is, of course, Minna Stein. How are you, Minna?
I'm missing my break from the news, like all news stopped for a week except for, the big stories that filtered their way through. But this morning, going over all of the depressing headlines to collect to provide to you, dear listener, kind of bummed me out a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel the same way. Living in DC, we kind of experience the news enough, especially if you walk around here. We don't talk about it today, but National Guard certainly still present in DC. They're armed now, and you see them if you go to any real like tourist spot. That seems to be the only places they really hang out.
And everywhere on the metro, like at
And
every
everywhere
single
on the
stop.
metro, they just are hanging around with sidearms, doing something, I guess. Nothing visible, but
It makes me feel like I'm in like North Korea or like in an active state of war, and there's like soldiers getting on the train with me everywhere I go. It's a very like surreal feeling. It's weird.
yeah, I've never experienced this in the US. I have, in Europe, you notice sometimes like security walking around with like assault rifles at like train stations and, different spots. But not to this level, not the same volume, and not in the US. So it is certainly a brave new world we're living in here in
Mhm.
DC. Um, and I know there are talks of expanding it to other cities. We don't have a story about that today, thankfully.
Well,
But if we do, we'll discuss it here first. So
yes, we will discuss it later. I promise you that. But
actually, yes, you're right. I didn't read our own stories. Never mind.
spoiler alert, we will be talking about some of the other cities that will be getting a taste of the DC National Guard. Um, in their own city.
Experience, yeah.
But before we talk about that, we will talk about somewhere outside of DC. Russian President Vladimir Putin has intensified missile and drone strikes on Ukraine and escalated hybrid warfare in Europe following inconclusive summit with US President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly urged peace talks without success. Despite setting deadlines for negotiations, Trump has backed away from enforcing them, while Putin continues pursuing his war aims and flaunting international alliances with China and India. Analysts say Russia is using the delay in diplomacy to gain ground militarily and psychologically, despite overstating battlefield gains and facing slow progress on the front lines. Yeah, I mean, for Trump, it quote unquote makes sense, right? Like he doesn't want to go against Putin, but he doesn't want to go against Europe either because he has so many personal deals and hotels and golf courses in Europe. Doesn't want to hurt himself financially, but doesn't want to go against his friend and ally in Putin. So it puts the US in kind of a weird spot with these deals of kind of really not pushing on either side. Um, and I've noticed that Trump has kind of moved away from this entirely and kind of handed it off to Vance. Like all of the updates have been coming from JD Vance on this. Trump's kind of backed away. So
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable self-made problem for the administration. So they are definitely squirming on this right now, but it's not particularly surprising, I have to say.
yeah.
Well, sticking with the Russia and China focus, at a meeting in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and North Korean leader Kim Jong un convened for a show of solidarity. The leaders met to discuss closer defense relations and signal a new global order amid a military parade planned for the following day. Analysts believe the summit could alter the military calculus in the Asia Pacific region and is a blow to US President Trump, who has touted his relations with the three leaders, as you alluded to. The meeting highlights growing ties between the countries as Russia and China also signed a new gas deal. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head of this is an issue as he tries to be tough on one and not the other. You know, it's hard to sanction India when China and Russia are signing a gas deal, but you know, they're learning the hard way that diplomacy is not easy and it's not black and white as they try to make it. Um, and yeah, you know, these summits are certainly not new. They've met this way before, but definitely takes on a kind of a different tone given the kind of current U.S. floundering globally.
Well, speaking of US floundering globally and other such disgusting acts, the Trump administration has ordered US embassies and consulates to deny non immigrant visas to all applicants using Palestinian Authority passports, including students, tourists, and those seeking medical care, as part of a broader crackdown on Palestinian travel to the US. The directive, signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, follows recent visa suspensions for Gaza residents and revocations for Palestinian officials. The State Department cited national security and vetting concerns, emphasizing that while the U.S. recognizes PA passports for documentation, it does not recognize the Palestinian Authority as a foreign government. So, more U.S. meddling in Palestinian and Israeli conflict, and once again, not putting themselves on the right side. And it's very troubling, especially when the list of non-immigrant visas that they are no longer accepting includes those seeking medical care.
Yep. Nothing to add here. It's horrible. It's needlessly cruel. And it's completely to be expected. Well, on a stranger note, following a serious car crash, President Donald Trump announced he will award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to his longtime political ally Rudy Giuliani. The honor is being bestowed upon a figure whose public life has seen a striking rise and fall, from being hailed as America's mayor after 9/11 to facing disbarment and criminal charges for his role in trying to overturn the 2020 election. Trump praised Giuliani as the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and an equally great American patriot, two dubious claims. The decision comes despite Giuliani's legal troubles, which include a defamation judgment against him and criminal charges in 2 states. You know, unfortunately, the Presidential Medal of Freedom kind of doesn't mean anything anymore, despite Trump saying that it's better than a Medal of Honor because you don't have to get disfigured, in his words. But, you know, he also gave it to Rush Limbaugh last time around. So, you know, that was kind of the death blow to it for me. But this is just kind of kicking and beating a dead horse senseless, giving it to Rudy Giuliani, who, yeah, I mean, his fall from grace has been astonishing. And he is now just kind of the equivalent of your crackpot uncle, albeit with the president's ear. So infinitely more dangerous, which is just super fun. A great thing that we have to deal with as a country.
A second very non-serious list of awardees following the Kennedy Center honors.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
All right, and now to get to our last story, our much awaited and alluded to story. I'm sure you're on the edge of your seat waiting for this one, but Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson strongly opposed the Trump administration's reported plans to deploy federal agents and possibly National Guard troops to Chicago for immigration enforcement, calling it an unauthorized and militarized invasion. The move, expected to begin soon, is part of a broader federal crackdown targeting Democratic-led cities with sanctuary policies, sparking sharp political clashes over crime and immigration. While federal officials cite rising violence to justify intervention, local leaders argue they are already seeing crime reductions and reject federal overreach. Actually, here in DC, there's been a crime spike since the National Guard has been here. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they're doing their job, but in terms of reducing the crime, that certainly hasn't happened. But yes, it's definitely very transparent what they're trying to do. And honestly, a slam dunk for them. So I wish that, as hard as these Democrat governors and mayors are trying, I wish they changed their rhetoric a bit when it came to this and kind of tried to flip the script. Instead of saying it's an invasion, I wish they were saying the reason why we can't do things now is because this administration is taking our money from the cities, making it so we can't pay for things like police, making it so we can't pay for all kinds of things that you guys need to keep you safe. I wish they sort of spoke more specifically about what the issues were and who was causing the issues, instead of saying we don't want an invasion, because obviously it's going to happen whether they want it or not. So that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Obviously it's disgusting, but
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's as with many things the administration does, it's the pomp and circumstance without any of the actual results. And if anything, what they do often gets in the way of achieving real results. But again, it's not surprising at all. But according to Trump, crime is now zero in DC. There's no crime. Crime has been fully eliminated. We live in a crimeless society here in DC. So I think that is reason to celebrate, don't you, Minna?
How lucky are we? I've been seeing all kinds of videos that always make me chuckle, of like that audio of Trump saying, as we all know, Chicago is a killing field. And then it's like videos of like people on Pelotons on a boat, or like silent disco by the river, or like some sort of weird like monsters at a festival that look very goofy. And it's like, yeah, it's not a killing field. That's like a city that's beautiful and full of life.
It's like any city where there's crime, and it's important to address it. But the solution is not just deploying the military and having them mill around in high traffic areas that aren't necessarily high crime areas, as we've seen here in DC. I've only ever seen them at like just tourist spots that aren't necessarily crime ridden areas.
Tourist spots, but also picking up trash, I've noticed. And I'm like, there's got to be less expensive ways that we can pick up trash around DC.
I mean, hey, if they wanted to pick up trash, I'm for that. If they're just here to basically clean up, then that's fine. It's fine with me, but they don't need guns to do it. And it certainly doesn't need to be the National Guard. But I mean, I guess while they're here, they might as well do something helpful. So
agreed.
Hey, pick up the trash. Not the worst thing they could be doing. The other thing we miss while we were taking our break is the rumors that Trump had died. I don't know if you have a comment on that, Minna.
I was trying actually to find a story on that for my last one, but like all of the outlets were like fringe outlets that were reporting on it, and I was like, I don't want to seem conspiratorial on the pod, so I'm gonna not pull a story on this. But yeah, that was crazy. Well, my take on it, the craziest thing, I mean, obviously he's not dead. What I thought was crazy was how JD Vance fueled the rumors by going on TV and saying, if God forbid tragedy should strike, of course I would be ready to take over the presidency.
They really didn't help their case at all, did they? Trump, I mean, between Trump's weird interview where he's like, I sure hope I get into heaven. And it's like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, what?
Yeah. And then he's also doing... he's making an announcement today at 2. So I think that whereas it is very likely that maybe he had a surgery or something over the weekend that caused him to, disappear for a little while. It was very odd the way that the vice president was like, I don't want anything bad to happen, but if it does, I'm ready. It's like the easy answer to that is like, he's great. I see him every day. He's in great health. There's nothing to be worried about.
Yeah.
Which he did say all of those things. And then he also said, but if he should die, I'm ready. Well, which there was no reason for him to say, which I think made people be like, oh my gosh, what is going on, in a way that they didn't have to be.
And I think the more serious critique here is that it's kind of telling that you could only find that on fringe outlets, because if that had happened to Joe Biden, I mean, right. CNN, the New York Times, everybody would be like, is Joe Biden dead? Is he too decrepit to be the president? Yeah. And right now we're seeing a president who's very unhealthy, facing many of the same issues that Joe Biden did. And mum is the word from mainstream media for the most part, especially, I mean, even if they do talk about it, it's certainly not to the extent that it was talked about under Joe Biden.
Right.
So I think that is kind of a more serious issue, more emblematic of kind of the rot of mainstream media. So something to think about, as I'm certain the narrative around discussion around Trump's health will continue throughout his administration, given that we're only a few months in, believe
Well,
it
it
or
also,
not.
yeah, I know, for real. Well, it also just goes to show that when we have a president who is so chronically online that he disappeared for a few days and everyone was like, surely he must be dead.
Right? Yeah, I mean that is the other part of it too, right? Is it, like it or not, I kind of expect to hear from Trump every day, sometimes multiple times a day, and rarely something you want to hear. But yeah, I mean, when that doesn't happen, you're like, where is he? Where'd he go? But we obviously now know that he is alive. But curious what that 2 p.m. announcement will be, and I'm sure we will talk about it again right here on the DSR Daily tomorrow. David will be back joining us tomorrow, so you'll have the full squad together again. So stay tuned for that, and we have plenty more across the network for you this week. So lots to enjoy. So we hope you'll join us. And until then, bye-bye.